Hello everyone and welcome back to this episode of the Ratcast where we're talking about is it time to finally get CAS out of ground. You know, that's been a big topic of discussion. We're finally going to talk about it today. So I got Modrat here with me. Say hi, Modrat.
Hi, Modrat.
Thank you. Good follow and instructions there, Modrat. So, you know, I don't know if you've seen Modrat. We talk about this a lot of times on the channel. You know, is CAS good? Is CAS bad? Should it be in ground? Should it not? And people have a lot of varying opinions when it comes to this. So I guess the first...
Yeah, that's putting it lightly.
Yeah, it's putting it lightly. Yeah. You know, I gotta say, originally when we started the channel, people were really against CAS. I feel like people were really upset about it. Whenever I made a video talking about CAS, people would get really upset and angry. And now when I make ones kind of coming out against CAS, I feel like people have, kind of come around to it a little bit more. I don't think people are as angry about CAS as they used to be. Have you noticed any difference on your side?
Yeah, give it a month. We'll change our opinions.
Yeah, a lot of revolving opinions here in the War Thunder community, I'd have to say. But anyway, so I guess the first thing to ask is, you know, the original question of the video rather, is, you know, do you think it's time to just have ground, not have CAS in it? I'll let you go first on this. Do you think we should just totally cut it? Because some people do think that, you know, there should not be planes in ground. You've seen the memes, you know, ground game looks inside planes. Do you think we should just cut it out entirely?
No, I don't.
No.
It's going to be that universal problem of if you don't have CAS because of the way War Thunder maps are, which map layout would be a different discussion, you'll just have endless spawn camping. CAS, the main reason it's in, per Gaijin, is to try to prevent spawn camping or just holding corners and stuff, try to make the game more dynamic.
Right.
That's a map issue. That's a different conversation. But we're talking about CAS as a whole. It accomplishes that. It's just, as we've said, the balance of making all the factors even out, which apparently War Thunder, which we'll probably talk about later, is taking a pretty big stride to try to even out the playing field.
Right, and I mean, here's the other thing that I was the same when it comes to this. Is it time to remove CAS? I really don't care that much. I don't use CAS when I play games at all, so it's not that big of a deal to me. Gaijin's not going to remove CAS. I mean, they're just not. I mean, you can't sell thousands of people, thousands of planes for thousands of dollars and then suddenly just say, I mean, you could, but you really would not be a good idea just to be like, well, sucks to suck everyone that bought planes. You can't use them anymore. They're not in our game. I mean, I just don't see it happening. I said a lot of people want it to happen. I don't think it's very realistic. And, you know, maybe not really necessary. Maybe it's not that big of a deal. So I think overall, I'm going to give that question a big no. I don't think it's time to remove CAS from War Thunder entirely. But now what a lot of people opt for, I'm sure you've seen in the comments of our videos, is what everyone always opts for every time we ask them anything about War Thunder, which is it time to make a mode where you can play ground without CAS? And now, if people have seen my videos, I'm sure you know, I'm usually against just adding a mode or adding a setting to anything, because that's what everyone always wants. They just want endless modes, endless settings, which is just kind of silly. War Thunder is a multiplayer game. You have to matchmake. Dividing the game among 10 billion people playing 10 billion ways is going to ruin it. It's going to make load times too long. It's not going to be great. But should you have a way just to play with your tanks and not have to worry about planes overhead? I don't know. What do you think, Modrat? Do you think that maybe that would be a better alternative in this specific case?
I mean, I really don't think so.
No.
Because, as I said earlier, unless we're going to start turning every single map into CSGO style, you know, Dust 2, there's just going to need to be some unrealistic level of map redesign. Now, Gaijin could take a lot of effort to make the maps a lot better, but also due to the nature of the game, there's so many different vehicles, so many different weapons, so many different ways to play. I almost think it's an endless uphill battle trying to balance a map to prevent spawn camping, to prevent over pushing, prevent all of the issues that CAS theoretically is supposed to prevent.
Right.
To try to keep the games moving. And I feel like we're constantly on this back and forth pendulum of making CAS 10 times more powerful than sort of increasing spawn cost, which they did recently do. And all these little tiny micro changes. I don't think just having a game mode where you turn it off, now you've just introduced a whole nother level of issues to solve.
Yeah, and I think that there's other things you can do besides just making a mode. Yet again, first of all, making a mode, I hate to tell everyone, it's just not a solution, which I know you already agree. We talked about this at length off camera. You know, and I gotta say, to the making a mode thing and to making a setting point, this is more of a general point. But people do not know very much about War Thunder. Now, me and you know a lot about War Thunder. That's our own fault. The average person, you know, there's a lot of stuff in War Thunder I make videos about, and people are always like, what are you talking about? I mean, the average War Thunder player doesn't even know about the Battle Pass. People don't know about the War Bond Shop. We'll get comments in this video being like, what's the War Bond Shop? People don't even know what we're talking about. So
single player missions, single player dynamic campaigns. A lot of people don't know about helicopter enduring conflict, naval enduring conflict, helicopter game modes. There's already a ton of things in the game that people don't already touch.
Right, so I mean, hey, there might be a mode like this already and we don't even know. I mean, I don't think adding another mode will really change much because people won't even know how to get to it. They won't even know how to play it. And then I kind of go back to my original statement of, look, I'm just not going to sell you all these things and then be like, nah, sorry guys, sorry that you paid for these nice planes to attack tanks, and they're not going to also let you just hide from these planes in another game mode. They sold people these planes to attack you with. They're not going to let you just hide from them, I don't think. Now, should there be a mode? I mean, it still seems kind of unnecessary to me. I mean, I guess you could, but I don't think maybe it would solve everything the way you think. I think you're right. I think if you were to play modes without CAS, they would just be a bunch of spawn camping, a bunch of people in power positions you can never knock them out of. Now, I have seen some alternative theories to kind of dealing with CAS. I've seen people talk about like balancing the number of aircraft that can be up at once, like setting a max, which some people say it used to be that way. There used to be a max number of aircraft you could have in the air and they got rid of it? Or is that...
I think they might be getting their wires crossed between arcade.
Yeah, because not
arcade. I am unaware of any time where realistic had a limit to how many airplanes could be up.
Well, you could do that. Now, yet again, I don't think that really... I still don't think that would solve people's frustrations, because yet again, like we talk about a lot on here, I don't think it's so much you're really getting destroyed by planes all the time. It's that when it happens, it feels very unfair, because you have nothing you can do. You're just kind of sitting there. You feel like you have nothing you do. There are things you can do. We're going to get to that, I guess.
And the matches where, you know, there's 18 airplanes up constantly strafing you as well. It's a lot more in your memory than every other game you played that day.
I think that's the problem. I think that's the big problem people have with CAS, is that it's not always bad, which people do say this very often, which is CAS isn't as big of a deal as people make it out to be, and I agree. It's when it happens, it's very bad and very annoying, but it's not a constant enough problem, I think, to really warrant an entire change to the game, maybe. And I think that might be a big problem. Now, of course, there are things you can do to stop CAS. Now, what some people do say, which I guess you could do this, but you said they rebalance the spawn points. What they're saying is, what they need to do is make it cheaper to spawn in, like, plane versus plane with anti-air loadout. What would you call it? Again, you know...
Cap? I believe it's
Cap. They need to make it cheaper to spawn planes that are going to attack other planes and make it more expensive for, like, payloads. That's what I've seen a lot of people say. Now, I was Gaijin in the process of doing that, because you said they're changing, like, spawn point costs and stuff.
They've changed some of the spawn points on the bombs. A big issue you see is, so a lot of the conversation centered around top tier.
Right.
Because that's where the most capable weapons are, the most capable jets, and the biggest disparity between aircraft and tanks is. I think what people do miss, though, about the air-to-air loadout should be cheaper. As soon as you leave the missile range, your air-to-air loadout is 30mm autocannons to 50 cals that also are very effective at being cast by themselves. I mean, an M18 isn't going to know the difference between a Yak 9K flying around with air-to-air 30mm and anything else carrying a bomb. They're still very effective.
So
even in their, quote, air-to-air loadout is a big issue of it.
Okay, so I mean, so part of what you're saying basically is maybe that's something that could work for top tier, but you're talking about going down to lower tiers anyway. I mean, you're using bullets. What are you going to do? Air-to-air stuff still works against tanks, especially in lower tiers. Yeah. So it's not as easy as it sounds.
At a top tier too, where you are moving, even if we did say, okay, just running around with guns and radar missiles, I mean, things have very powerful guns underneath them. You can still do strafing runs against most all vehicles, even in a, quote, completely air-to-air loadout. While I do think it should be lowered, it isn't the perfect solution.
No, it's not. And I think we're going to get back to this. Now, one thing that you could do, which is this is the second biggest comment behind that, is more SPAA options, which I know we've had some changes, which I think is what you're going to get to. Before we get to that, there are things you can do. Number one, I've talked about it before. Your machine guns on your tank. Fire them at planes. It's more effective than you think it is, especially at lower tiers. You have no clue how many times I've knocked people with even my main gun, but especially my machine guns in low tier CAS. They don't know. They're not looking for it. They don't care. They never know what hits them when you do that. You are more effective than you feel against CAS, especially in lower tiers. But people do ask, maybe we need more SPAA, which I guess Gaijin's adding more SPAA options or something.
So at time of recording, the dev server went live yesterday for the oh gosh, I just forgot it. The Leviathans update.
Yeah, Leviathans.
Which they have added a new feature, multi-vehicle SPAAs, which already still in the dev server. We'll see what happens when it goes into the live server. Already seem like they're going to increase the capabilities to fight against airplanes very well, and I think has a lot of implications for maybe future ways they can balance all tiers, not just top tiers where these new multi-vehicle systems are being added.
So right now it's just going to be coming into top tier.
Right now it is tippy top tier with basically radar vehicles that can place launchers or new missile systems for I think like the Swedish tech tree and the Chinese tech tree are getting more capable single vehicle units.
Huh.
Go on.
Oh, so but now you're saying eventually it might even come down to lower or mid tiers.
I think there's a lot of ways this can change. The biggest thing is obviously still being in that higher tier, but moving the capability down. A lot of weapon systems we already have in the game are capable of linking to radar systems. The Strela, which is all over different tech trees now, the Strela is actually can be part of a multi-vehicle radar system like that. So we might even see like, oh, you could drive your Strela around normally, but you might be capable of having a multi-vehicle thing. Maybe move down, maybe not to the same tier as the Strela, but to a similar tier. And it's already being shown with what the Japanese are getting. They're getting an IR missile launcher that has a radar system attached to it. So a lot of different vehicles at the lower tiers could be added. And then there's obviously bigger systems that aren't in the game yet, like Book, Patriot, S, 100, 200, 300, whichever one you would like. All kinds of systems I don't know, but what I think this also has really good implications for is lower tiers. I think you could implement this system to SPAAs, not so much in the vehicle sense like it is now, but more so as like placing maybe like sandbag emplacements with anti-air guns. I think that's where this is eventually going to head. I think that's a very, very big possibility of what could be added. Driving around in your half track with a machine gun, placing down like single 20 millimeter air-to-air things that you can direct. Naval has a system, if I'm not mistaken, where you can designate airplanes for your ships to focus on. I could very easily see that laterally moving over to rank 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with just like Bofors cannons you could place down. And you can designate targets with and increase the air-to-air firepower of the ground. Because really, the only way I see CAS being balanced, short of absolutely removing it, is just increasing the amount of firepower you can have as an individual. Because not everyone's going to sit around in SPAA. That's how you lose games. But then you lose games if you can't shoot planes down. So the logical conclusion I see is allow SPAAs at lower tiers to use this mechanic. At least that's where I think it's going.
All right, yeah, so that's what I was going to ask. Well, sorry everyone, had to cut right there for a second, but what I was saying was that, I was thinking about low tier. I don't know a whole lot about top tier. If people have questions on the top tier for you, they'll probably comment. I'll defer those to you, then you can answer them. I don't even know a lot about top tier works. I don't know how those systems work. I hardly even know what we're talking about. We don't cover a lot of top tier on the show because I have no clue. my original interest was in some of your speculations. I'm going to talk about that again for a minute. So you talk about like maybe at lower tiers, like maybe you could be able to like deploy like 20 millimeter guns and sandbags and stuff and have them fire for you, because stuff like that in naval already, maybe. Go on.
No, go.
I was gonna say, But now, could that be a problem when you consider that like some low tier SPA already is like just like one gun on the back of a tank? Like, how could that really be balanced? That you have like, oh, this is my one thing and it fires a gun. Now I can deploy like hundreds of guns. Wouldn't that be like it? Would that not be an issue, or would they have to like would that take a little bit of like moving things around?
Well, the way it's currently implemented right now, you can have a maximum of 2 launchers.
Oh, so it wouldn't be that much more if you consider if you take things that are like, because right now, right, a lot of the play for low tier SPAA is really just using it for anti-tank, and it's really hard to use it for SPAAs because it's meant to be like oh, you're in this truck that fires a little gun and you can use it for use it for anti-tank, but it's hard to use it against a plane because you're really meant to fire like a bunch of them at one point and take them down. So this is just bringing your SPAA up to actually effective against planes range. It wouldn't really help you tank wise.
I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. I imagine you could just have the current SPAAs just have the ability to place that down, or maybe we might see things like supply trucks that can drive around the map and like build these positions. Maybe the truck itself can't engage it, but it can designate targets for these independent air-to-air systems.
Oh, like an engineer slot for War Thunder, kind of.
Which people have been asking for things like that, and with the implementation of things like ammo crates and now these new SPA systems, I imagine we will see eventually a build-up in what vehicles can do. Also, just as a little side thing, maybe this is also how infantry might be implemented. We had the teaser for infantry on April 1st, which a lot of people think is an April Fool's, but back, I believe it's like a year or two before, the Atomic Heart trailer also came out on April 1st. And It wasn't the April Fool's event. But after the following like major update, it then just out of nowhere showed up as an event. So they probably, if I speculated, might be adding this SPA system where you can drive around vehicles and control them to test a potential infantry system they might be adding, which that would also open the door up even more. Maybe not so much like 20 millimeters on the ground, but maybe you have a truck full of guys with like single mount machine guns you can have jump out of the back of your truck and you can control to act as SPAA or anti-tank STs in the trailer. Higher tiers, you might be able to put Strela units out and stuff. I do think there's a lot of potential for anti-air for a lot of things that this system has implications for.
Yeah, I mean, which would be interesting to give, would give vehicles more play and stuff, especially SPA, which has kind of needed a little bit of attention for since it's existed. Now the question is, yet again, more speculatory. So so it's already like people screaming every time they get blown up by a plane. Like, why aren't enough people playing CAS? Is they're not playing CAS now? Am I gonna get yelled at like, oh, who's playing engineering vehicle? Get out here!
I imagine when the update goes live, that is going to be a big issue.
Yeah, people screaming like.
And there's going to be a lot of bad things said about it because everyone's going to want to test it out. But I imagine over time, because the biggest problem with SPAA is it's boring. You're just sitting and waiting for most of the game. And the rewards aren't as good because people were botting the absolute crud out of SPAAs. Like they were using the 2S38, which is a light tank, but in real life was designed to be an anti-air system. So the rewards are low and the gameplay is boring. So I imagine once the novelty wears off, we're going to go right back to the same thing if there's only one SPAA. So I think an increase in firepower for SPAA is still the best way to go.
Yeah,
because it's going to be really interesting when it just comes out, and then the novelty's going to fade.
And that's the other problem. It's just not, it's not. I mean, there's an issue with gameplay, and that's the other thing. Like, why don't more people play SPAA? Well, okay, it is a little bit boring to feel like, okay, now we sit here, and then what if just no one hops in a plane? Which I've heard you lament many times. You're like, okay, I'm gonna get some SPAA grinding in, and then just no one spawns in a plane for 10 games in a row. That's the issue. Is like, okay, let's balance things so people can't be in planes as much. But then how are you supposed to play SPAA if there's no planes? Especially if we're gonna move to like, no, this is my SPAA truck that just takes out planes. Well, what if no one spawn? There's not inherent planes. Like, you can get into game after game technically with no planes. How does that work? It's gonna be interesting. But I think I definitely kind of trying to circle back to the original question. No, we're probably not. Okay, should we make a game mode without CAS? I am willing enough to say, if they wanted to try, I wouldn't be up in arms like I would be if we made, I don't know, historical matchmaking game mode or something. Is it time to remove it? Definitely not. I don't think Gaijin's gonna remove it. It looks like they're taking a lot of time and money and effort to just make it more workable. I don't think we're gonna see a no cast game mode anytime soon. Probably not even an event, to be honest, because that was the best. Go on.
Back in like December 2024, they said that they're very aware CAS is a massive issue, that it is very hard, and when you get really, especially when you get really good players up in the air who really know what they're doing, it is a very, very uphill fight. This is the year they said that they were going to put a lot of effort into countering CAS and implementing these systems. I think the conversation has definitely changed quite a bit with these new systems, and I think it's going to continue to change because Gaijin has really put CAS in their crosshairs, and this is the year they said they would. And I mean, right now with these new multi-vehicle systems, I think they've done a pretty good job of showing that they are going to really go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got some good stuff coming. I might not get to see a lot of it at first because I get on and play with that hype, but I think we got some good stuff coming, and I don't think we're getting CAS removed anytime soon. But it's probably for the best, to be honest. They're not gonna. We're removing content from a game is never usually the right way to go unless it's really bad.
I mean,
content.
that's one of the biggest issues with War Thunder is a lot of vehicles people can't get anymore, removed from the game, or events that people can't access anymore.
I suspect, and it's my pure speculation, but I think if we remove CAS or even made a game mode where there was no CAS and would flock to it, which I don't think people would flock to it the way they said they would. But maybe they would. I think we'd hear.
Who knows? If everyone flocks to Naval like they said they would when the Iowa got added, then maybe we'll be proven wrong about that.
Look, Modrat, let me tell you, I would schedule in an entire Ratcast for us to talk about Naval, but nobody would click on it. Naval, this is completely. But
everyone said when they had the big battleships, they'll play.
Look, okay, this is a podcast. I can go off topic. Naval is the poison pill for content. Hi, I'm Rat. I've made a lot of moderately successful videos and a lot of terrible videos. You think you come into War Thunder and you don't see anyone talking about Naval, and you're like, oh, this is my giant untapped like mine of content. I have done nothing. Nothing has ever happened to a single. Do you know the biggest Naval video all time on the channel? You can go check right now. I know what it is. It's the one where I'm like, it's some jokes like it's some silly thing like, if you don't like Naval then you should try like again, like that meme. That's the biggest Naval video on the channel. Anything covering a boat, anything talking about Naval, like the 10 views. The War Thunder community is just not interested in Naval, which is crazy because I love Naval. It's my favorite game mode. It's awesome. Everyone that plays it, by the way, says that it's great.
Naval suffers from a lot of problems that SPAA does, where it's kind of boring sitting there holding the mouse button down. Who knows? Maybe we'll see a major revamp of that after the SPAA is done.
Look, like I said, Naval deserves its own series on this channel. It's not getting it because no one's watching. No one's watching it, but it merits like several Ratcasts. But we're not gonna get to it. But you know what I do have to get to is reminding everyone that I have all these videos archived in different playlists. You can go and just watch them all back to back to back, and you really should just keep it on. Turn on several computers and leave them all on. I'm not gonna stop you. I'd appreciate it. Even
need watch time.
We need the watch time. Like I have a video. What's the biggest actual video? The M109G video. It's like a 1-minute tutorial. Watch it 3,000 times. You could do that. And I'd appreciate it. You can also sign up for our Patreon to get all of our videos early. It's only $1 now. You get your name at the end of the video, like the Doctor and Candyland. Thank you guys very much for following us on there. You can see every video early. And I think for like $1.25, you can get your name in purple. Isn't that nice? Do you have any other further comments, Modrat, before we come back next time and talk about? Next time we're gonna talk about. I think we're gonna talk. I was gonna say aviation, but maybe we'll talk about something else next time. Not naval though, for sure. But final comments.
Are
Modrat?
You sure?
No naval. No naval. I'm sure. Maybe. I don't know. Probably aviation. What about you, Modrat?
Go try naval.
Go try Naval. You know what? If this video gets 1 million comments saying that you guys like Naval, we'll put out a Naval Ratcast. Do you think that will work? You think we'll get that?
If they do 500,000, I'll make a naval video.
If we like 500,000 comments, you'll make a naval video.
Comments. Being like
Okay.
rad, make a naval video.
If we get 500 more comments than we've ever gotten, we'll make one.